Greetings everyone, hello and welcome to Transport Fever 2 once again. I'm super excited to jump into this one. Transport Fever 3 is on the horizons and I really enjoyed my last playthrough. So this time around we are once again also starting with a free game and we're gonna create a transport empire starting with 1850. For the map itself, we're gonna go with a Terrain Fever mod that I've installed. So this is one of the many mods that we are using for this let's play, and in this case here we're also using the semi-random tree with those parameters here going forward too. The cool thing about the Terrain Fever mod is that it really enhances the look of the map by a lot. It makes it more natural, it also makes it more diverse, and it also adds a lot of interesting challenges down the road. We're starting with 1850, the earliest start that we can go for, and we are of course playing on the very hard max difficulty settings here. This is actually really hard, especially when you only have horse carriages available in 1850. We're then gonna advance quickly throughout the early 20th century and then push into modern times as quickly as possible there, because I'm really a fan of the bigger trucks and bigger trains then and planes that we get later on. But of course for the difficulty and also for just looking at history, we're starting with the earliest possible one. Town cargo needs is up to 6 at some point, so when the towns grow they have more demands than usual. And we're also going with the new feature, the industry closure frequency, and that means that industries that are not being used, they close over time, and industries will appear again, right? So new industries will pop up. So the game and the map itself is changing all the time. The industries we see at the beginning of the game, well, they're not going to be there anymore a couple of episodes later, and new industries will pop up. This makes for a very, very dynamic playthrough. I think I love the setting here, and we're of course using this. Of course, we're also using the latest updates that we have available. That also means a better traffic control that the game offers, and these are all the mods that I'm using for this playthrough. So it's mostly assets, but also graphical enhancements. It also changes how the towns will look, how dynamic the towns will look, stuff like that. So you can just have a quick look at that. Perhaps there is a mod that you would like to install for yourself, but we're also going to highlight them, of course, during the course of this let's play. These are the settings. Transport Fever 2 on very hard settings starting 1850. Looking forward to that. Also, if you're interested in my long plays, don't forget to check out my second channel, and if you want to support me directly, you can also have a look at my Patreon support. That link is in the video description as well. Without further ado, let's jump into Transport Fever 2 once again. Go, 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 go. And so it begins in 1850 with 5 million credits on the account. We are enthusiastic. We want to start a transport empire, and the world is basically available to us right now. Small cities everywhere, people with funny clothes walking the streets, horses carrying goods around, and everything is basically very primitive and very expensive for us. Starting on very hard, we'll need to make sure that we get some very profitable routes out of this. And for that, we need to have a look around at the grander scale of this map. We're playing on a megalomaniac map. That means that that's the maximum map available to us. And we got a lot of nice features here. We got this beautiful lake area there with islands, peninsulas even, towering mountains in the middle, massive oceans, and even isolated mountain villages that offer scenic routes and relaxation. In all of this, we need to find opportunities for us, and one of them presents itself here in Haywood. That is another, lake ocean system that we have over here, and as we can see, Haywood requires fuel right now if it wants to grow, besides food of course. And I can see that Haywood could be one of our central cities for now, because we got a food processing plant not too far away, and we got a fuel refinery not too far away. Now, how do we get the fuel to Haywood? This is gonna be the complex thing that we need to start with poop. Well, basically that's the foundation of our empire. Poop it is, because in order to get this fuel started, we need to start with horse carriages, the very basic transportation that we have right now, because there is a oil well over here, an oil refinery over here, and I can see that there might be an opportunity here for us. I would like to implement our first railway system as well, and trains are so expensive that they're only profitable when they're full load all the time in both directions. So getting the refined oil to the fuel refinery and then the fuel back here again is an opportunity for us. However, getting the raw oil to the oil refinery is a bit more dirty, a bit cheaper, and for this we can use the horses. And that is my very first transportation, and that is horse carriages with the oil delivery. For this we can start with a basic depot right over here somewhere. A basic truck station that is gonna deliver then the oil, and then also a basic one right over here. I'm gonna keep this as basic as possible. We're gonna of course make everything more sophisticated once we have more money rolling in and once we need to scale things up, but for now this should be fine. And let's just check it out. Let's try to get a bit further away from here. Wait a second, there it is already, right? So we can make this into a very short route, in fact, just so that we get the oil going. Then I will need to have a truck depot for my fuel that gets out here then, and I will need to have a train station. So let's just make sure that we get a road going here. Wait a second, we can delete this road, in fact, we don't need that. And I can make sure that we have this road going, right? Because on this road we can attach then a train station to that somewhere over here, and this train station will need to have access then to a truck station where the fuel is coming out. So that's probably this one where we can get the fuel out. It's usually a best practice to not have them on the main roads, right? So this is a mistake down the road, but we'll just see. Once we scale things up, we definitely will need that space. And what I still also need is a truck unload station here in Haywood, where we can then drop off that fuel. And as we can see, that city has 3 districts right now. That is a residential zone, that is a food processing zone, and that is a fuel processing zone or industrial zone, right? And we need to drop it off then here in the industrial zone. So I'm just gonna make this one as central as possible right here somewhere. Alright, got those things rolling. Now onwards to the train, the most problematic thing about all of this. Because what I can see here right away, this fuel refinery is, blocked off with the water bodies that we have there. And we will need a bridge for sure. And we will also need to make sure that this one is as direct as possible while also maintaining low levels, right? So no altitude changes, no increases. It should be as flat as possible. Let's also have a street here somewhere. Hope that we can have it like so. Perfect. There it is. I want to make sure that we still have the connection here. And then we can go ahead with our first station here. Let's keep a bit of a buffer there on both sides so that we have enough space to make this one larger down the road, right? And then we can start with the track system as well. And as you can see, this is not going to be so easy. For this one, we will need to have an increase so that we can start with a bridge. This is still not possible. So we'll need to have it increased once again. And only now is it possible to get over here, right? Gonna make sure that we keep the maximum speed at all times. So that's 120. However, the bridge will have 90. I don't have any other bridges available right now, so this will have to do. That bridge was a bit expensive, but it should be worth it. And with that, we have made the connection to the other side and can now continue on a steady path towards our oil refinery. Gotta make sure that we always stick to the ground here though. The next challenge already presents itself, and that's this lumber mill over there that we have, the sawmill. How can we get around that? Well, probably let's just have a look how we can make that station. That station will have the refined oil. Is there another source of refined oil coming in at some point? It doesn't look like it, but don't forget there are more industries popping up all the time, right? So all of this is changing. Industries disappear, others will appear. So right now, this is only the starting industry point that we have. There is an oil refinery over there, and there's one over there. So there will be potentially other trains coming in at some point. And this I need to calculate in. So let's just make it so that this train station is somewhere here. Also, once again, we are gonna need a bit of space surrounding this one here, right? For expansions in the future. And with that, let's just check it out. How could we get over there? This would probably be the best bet, right? Because this one here, it can work. This one also can work. This one needs a bridge, but it can also work. So the connection we could actually establish right away. Let's just see how the game wants me to have this one. Doesn't look good, right? Okay, this is more elegant solution. It maintains max speed throughout and it goes around here without having to cut into the water body there. Of course, at some point we will need to probably At some point, perhaps this one here even disappears by itself, and then we could make this one straight. But for now, that's my solution to this problem here. We still need a train depot, and then we can actually start with the most fun thing in this game. Let's get the train depot going somewhere here, so that we can attach more tracks down the road to this one. Also gonna need a truck depot. Let's actually have this one also then somewhere, yeah, here by the oil refinery right away. Onwards to our first lines for this, let's create it right away, and that is the raw oil to the oil refinery. And we're gonna make it so that it can use all platforms. Next line is my trains, It's going from Haywood to Leeds right over here, and then back again. Gonna rename the stations a bit here to Leeds Fuel, and this one here is gonna be not Haywood, but Haywood Oil. And then of course we can also attach the first customer now, and that would be then from Lower Haywood over here to Haywood drop-off point over here. And once again you can use, actually let's use just one platform for this. It's gonna be low volume. With all of this, let's actually get started with our first two vehicles that we have available. We got the stage code for passenger transportation, and we got the horse-drawn carriage available right now. And in this case here, let's start purchasing a whole bunch of them. I'm thinking about getting some 10 out for now, and they're going to be popped into this very first line now. And ladies and gents, so it starts with the very first vehicles. There you go. Boy, that's going to be some messy streets. With all the poop running around. Let's speed time up because things are a bit slow in the beginning. And they're now on their way on this fine day. Just look at how far we can actually see in this game. The oil is already piling up at Haywood East as my first carriages arrive. And they should, there you go, distribute between the platforms whenever there is some spot available. Of course, we're gonna need a whole bunch more, so I'm just gonna take all the 10 and copy me another 10 out. In fact, I'm gonna copy me another 10 out again, so we got 30 vehicles then on this route. Onwards to my train. We do only have this D13 available right now, the Spanish Brittany Railway, because the fine Zurich gentleman had puff pastry brought from a well-known Baden chef, especially for the trip. Well, thank you for this information. And let's just get this one going. And we do need now the tank car, because this one can take oil and fuel at the same time. Maximum speed 50 kilometers an hour, and it can take 5 per car. So let's just see how many we can squeeze in before that locomotive gets too weak. And as we can see, up to this point here, so the total capacity would be 50. That would cost me 1.7 million. And I'm not going to do this though yet, right? Because we don't have that much capacity running. So I'm starting with 20. I'm starting with 30, right? So that we do have a bit of a buffer there. And with that also, my very first train is coming out. Beautiful, isn't it? That train is now waiting, but there's no oil at the moment because it needs to be transported here first. What we'll need to make sure though is that this one is only leaving the train station when it's full, right? And we're gonna wait a couple of times here. So you can wait up to 6 minutes. Let's make it 7 minutes on that. And then it goes to the fuel refinery. I'm not gonna say this at the fuel refinery though, because this could lead to a deadlock, right? Because if it waits at the fuel refinery for fuel, but there's no oil coming in, then it's stuck there forever basically. So we cannot allow this. And there are already some oil coming in now. Very good. As this oil refinery here is now working. It's at level 1. It starts with the production. Right, it has then a list of all the suppliers that it potentially can have and all the consumers that it can have. And of course, our goal also is to grow these industries into industrial complexes where you can really push out a lot of volume. Alright, the money's rolling now, at least a bit. Not that much yet, right? Especially also since they're going back empty, but that's not avoidable in this case here. Unavoidable. So in this case here, we need to live with that. It should still get profitable. And as quick as it can be, the first train is already fully loaded and on its way now to the fuel refinery. A meager profit that was. It's not fully loaded yet. But that oil is now being processed at least, and then already waiting for the next train. Yeah, and there's already 93 oil now waiting at the cargo station, so I can already make this train a bit longer, and we can just attach now a bunch more carts. And I'm actually going to make this one all the way to the maximum capacity, which is then 50. So far, only my oil line here is actually profitable. And it doesn't take long for this train to actually go back almost full. So I would already work on an expansion here, and that is that I want to have 2 tracks in the center of this. I'm not gonna make the bridge into a 2-track system yet because that's just very expensive. Instead, we can use now this double system here, going all the way through, so that we can accommodate then 2 trains here on the same line. And I think this should be enough. It's a bit cheaper because you don't need to do that much groundwork anymore. And I just love how the game makes this so easily possible for you to build the double tracks, right? And we're gonna merge them here again, and with a pretty long length so that we can maintain some good speeds throughout. For this to work, we're now gonna work on signals, path signals that we need. So we're gonna have one here at the station exit. And we definitely will have one here as we enter that system here, and the same applies for the other side. So once again, where the system ends, I would like to have a signal, and also once again here at the station exit. We're also going to need waypoints. There we got them, to decide which track those trains should go, and I'm going to go with the right side traffic here and the left side traffic here. Now we can adjust the train line. That's this one here, and it comes from Haywood Oil. And then we're going to add a waypoint now, which is that one. Then it goes to Leeds Fuel, and then it goes back using this waypoint here. And with that, we're using now both tracks. And we can now utilize a second train on this line, once we can afford it. Now this fuel line here is getting a bit full, so I can now use twice as many carriages to deliver the final fuel then to Haywood, where we already deliver now the oil. And you can also see this then here, potentially. Yep, there it is. Fuel is coming in. And this leads to a 10% growth factor now for the city Haywood. And, well, it will then certainly grow at some point. After all, we want to make some huge cities. And there we have lots of space here for a nice city to develop. I want to grow fast, so let's continue taking up a loan. We increase our loan and also our interest payment with that, of course. So the more loan we have, the higher our pressure to actually get some money rolling. And yeah, we're gonna take now line 2, and I'm basically copying this train like so. There it is. Cost me 2 million, and a second train is now coming out to push more oil. And as you can see, once the infrastructure is there, it's easier than ever to scale it up. Now a new problem comes up, and that is that we're delivering too much oil to the fuel refinery. It cannot process all of that fast enough, which leads to my trains not being completely full anymore. The problem here is that this fuel refinery is still working at level 0 more or less, right? So in almost in idle mode, it can't keep up with that. So we need to grow this one. It's already growing nicely when it comes to production, when it comes to shipment, but when it comes to transport, it's not there yet. We need to find new customers. One city is not enough. We deliver as much fuel already as possible here, but we need a second city if we want to grow this. Where's that second city though? This is where things are a bit problematic. Unfortunately, we are very unlucky here with the spawn rate of the cities. None of them needs fuel except this one out there. So for now, what we're gonna make, we need to make a street right? There isn't even a street connection. We can use this one here though, right? Along the lake. Oh, he would want me to have a bridge here, really? Can't be helped. I need that road. And I'm gonna make it so with a small curvature. Oh, this looks horrible. There you go. Should look a bit softer. There you go. And this road goes all the way up here to Camborne, which is another potential customer. What the heck? It's not potential anymore. It is a customer now. It has, once again, a industry zone that needs fuel. Just gonna make this one right here, right? And all I need to do now is I'm gonna take my first line for fuel, which is here, Lower Haywood, and this goes now over to Camborne over here. There's no street connection yet, so let's just check it out where the problem is. Leeds goes into, there's no road. Still, we'll need to add this infrastructure here too. We're gonna need a crossing, or yeah, we're gonna need a crossing here. So there's gonna be a crossing all the way up and then towards this line. With that, the connection has been established now. All right, let's get the trucks going. Oh, the trucks, the carriages. And I'm just gonna take 2 of that for now. This will be an extremely unprofitable route in the beginning. So I really just wanna open up a potential customer here. And this, there you go, leads to the fuel refinery now to push with shipment into the upgradable zone. By the way, I can further optimize things by just adding another road here. This leads to a more direct path into Haywood instead of this curly road that we have up there. With all that fuel being transported, Haywood has breached 200 residences as it is growing and more districts are being added, with the fuel contributing now to 50% of the growth. While that thing is now growing, and yeah, we still need to wait for all of the logistics chains, the supply chains to really upgrade here, right? So this one's also on its track now. I would like to work on another industry right away, and that is the food. We have this one close by. Haywood and Leeds both need food, so this would be a nice additional product that we can deliver. And yeah, for this we have the food processing here, and let's just check it out where we can have a drop-off station. There it is. It's too far away. We could have it here. Perhaps this works. My idea is that we combine a station here that has access to the food processing and to the city at the same time. For this, I'm trying to establish a loop. So we have our beginning station up here, which is going to be the grain. The grain is delivering to the food processing and the food is being transported to Leeds. Right, so we got a loop here, and the same truck can do the job here because... No, wait a second. I actually cannot do this because the food needs 2 grain and 1 for 1 food. So that means it would always be half empty, and this is quite a way around here. So this I cannot make into a loop. Yeah, this is my first system here. It's a very short route, unfortunately, so it's not going to be profitable, but... On the other hand, we want to grow the cities, right? So this is the important thing. So line 6 is going to make sure that the food gets then over to Leeds. And we also will need a new line that is then from my food processing to also, yeah, Haywood, right? That also requires food. And it's probably going to be the same drop-off point because this is basically that takes in the whole city right now. Could make it so that we have another drop-off point on the other side, so that it's not clogging up too much. Oh, wait a second. Actually, more food is over here. So let's make the drop-off point somewhere here where we have more food industry coming together. There you go. Right, and with that, we got this whole system now going. And yeah, it's not going to be super profitable early on, so I'm just going to say that we are actually using smaller amounts of trucks for this. Let's also have 2 more for the food delivery and 2 more for this food delivery. That we get the customers rolling. Meanwhile, the fuel refinery has leveled up. Perfect. It's on its way actually to the next level already with the shipment. So we need another customer for that. But at least it causes now my trains to be full in both directions all the time, which is important. And this leads to my train line here now having a nice profit of 250,000. And Leeds gets its food, and with that, more buildings appear now. A new locomotive has been unlocked. Let's just check it out if we could get any improvements out of that. And in that case, it's the Borsig. It can have a higher top speed. It has a bit more power, so 1/3 more power. So that means we could transport more goods over that. Replacing this one costs me only 200,000. And with that, I can get a few more cards on that. Look at that. Yeah, 3 more cards. This train could be longer. The total cost for one train would be 600,000. So I'm going to wait until I have 1.2 million to replace both of them. Haywood has grown to 300 citizens since also the food bonus kicks in now. At this point, the train is making 600,000 in profit, so this is looking rather well. On the other end of the spectrum, we have our fuel delivery all the way to that city there. Yep, that's unfortunately something. It's a long, windy road, so that takes away your profit. The easiest path would be here to make a bridge, but that is just too expensive for me right now. We can also see that there's industries closing now and industries opening up across the map, so things are changing a bit. Finally, I saved enough money, so I can now modify my trains into the more powerful locomotive that we have available now. Oh, it's also looking more beautiful. Still, the driver is totally exposed to the weather, but yeah, that's an improvement for later. Also, we can carry now up to 65 on this train, which is important because at this point, that fuel refinery does not have oil anymore, right? So we need to deliver more oil now for this one to work all the time. With all the investment, unfortunately, we're a bit negative right now, so I cannot do anything and just hope that my lines bring in some profit. Finally, we also have a new road vehicle, and that is a better horse carriage. The first one was able to transport 5 goods. The next one is able to transport 5, but with a higher top speed, right? So in this case, it's a small improvement. So from 4 to 5 car capacity, right? And also 2 kilometers an hour top speed. So it's a slightly better vehicle. Especially useful in areas like this where you have high capacity, right? So I'm just going to say that we're now going to replace the first 10 with this new one here. And it's especially also useful in these long haulages, right? Because the extra top speed adds up, of course, over a distance like that. So perhaps we can actually also get all of them going. We can. Very nice. Finally, also that food processing plant is leveling up. Very important. So we can push more volume. This one leveled up, and that also leads to this grain farm now to level up, because now it has a higher capacity customer. That means it needs to produce more, which leads to more grain being delivered then. And so it happens that the fuel refinery levels up again, and Haywood, thanks to its growth, needs a new material, and that is a construction material. Would you look at that? And yeah, this is a new opportunity for us, of course, to make money and to grow the city further. Now, the fact that Haywood requires construction materials, Leeds and York are close by with the same demand. This presents an opportunity for us that we can use. Now, where could we get construction materials from though? Well, we could get it from over here. And I would like to use this opportunity now of getting my first ship route going. In that case, we got the Bromley over there that also requires fuel. Now, this is a great coincidence because for the ship to be profitable, it needs to go also once again full in both directions. So we need to get the fuel over here and the construction materials back to Haywood. That would be my idea. For this, well, we do need to start with the harbor, and that's the cargo harbor. And the cargo harbor I would like to have, of course, as close to the fuel as possible. In this case, we need to actually have a connection with the train line up here for this to work. So let's just check it out and hope that we can make this work. Let's get the road all the way down here. Should be as direct as possible, and then I just hope that it works. This one doesn't. But adding a new road here actually works. Now we have a connection with the train station up there. And now we can hopefully somehow get me my depot going. The thing with the cargo is it needs to be totally aligned with the ocean and not with the street, right? So if I place it here, it works. There you go. And with that, we got the first cargo harbor going. We need to make sure that we can make this one into a large dock though, right? So without that, it will not work. And fortunately enough, we can actually make it work like this. So I can add my cargo hub then here or here down the road. This would work. Perfect. Let's actually assign this, or let's actually make it so that this road is more or less aligned with the docks. This just looks a bit cleaner than overall. Okay, and with that out the way, we now need to have then the same thing over here. Now here it's a bit tricky, right? Because we got the construction material plant, we got the quarry up there. It's pretty far away. But once again, we can make this so that we combine the carriages. Because I would like to have my docks done, preferably over here. So that we have a combination here of those two. That would be ideal. Try this out. I will also need to have my depot. It's gonna be a pretty big depot, by the way, now that I think about it. And we can get this one all the way to that point here, right? And then I can make a dock here that has a connection with the depot. There you go. Also works out. Fantastic. Now with that out of the way, I do need a smaller bridge that we can use. That goes over here. Let's just see how expensive that bridge would be. 300,000 for a small bridge here. We can make this work. And then we continue with a straight road all the way down into this area. As straight as possible, because we're gonna have two routes going this way, right? The first one is the stone, taking it this way, and the construction material taking it back, and then also the fuel going to the other city there, right? So we will need to make this also so that we can add a 4-lane road here at some point, so that we can really scale this area up. Let's just check it out. It's going in here, and then probably all the way to that one. Oh, it's really far away. We'll just see. I could have a train here. The problem is with the train that there is a boxcar, or there is a car for the construction material, and then there's one for the stone. You cannot combine them into one, and this makes the train unfortunately not possible for this route. The next road is this one going up. Then we could make it here, right? Already diverting. I think this is cleaner and also more practical once we have then more trucks going here, right? And this one goes now all the way up to this point. Let's just hope that this works without too many costs. 240, 300,000. Holy cow, that is expensive. But it's a normal street, right? It's not anything special there. There's no bridge or anything attached. All right, and this goes up here. So this is why I want to use as many connections as possible. But here it's also not possible again. So let's get this one up. And then into my... Oh, this is a steep increase here. Oh, okay. Here we need to look at the terrain. And I'm probably going this way. And then through the forest. Could that work out? Okay, this works out. Going into the city. All right, that was very expensive. That road cost me $1 million, right? And money is really tight in the beginning, so yeah, we wasted a bit here, unfortunately, because this route will not be profitable for a long time. Now we got the depot going. We got the port. Now the port will have another depot for the fuel, because I don't want to mix it up here, right? So we're gonna have then two essentially here, and let's just make it so that we have the other then here. We still have the connection. And I will also need a road depot. Let's actually get the road depot a bit more here into the center. because we're gonna need this one for a couple of other things. I will also need a shipyard, right? That shipyard. Let's have it over here somewhere to get the ships going. We'll also need the customers, that is Leeds, where the majority of the construction material is right now, right? So Leeds has a total demand of that for 68 per year. And when you look at Haywood, it's only at 8, right? So Haywood is super small in comparison. It just opened up that demand. That demand is here in the center of it. So I could get my drop-off point somewhere over there. And we should then be able to grow with this further. Now, with that out of the way, it's time to get the lines going. And the first line will be the fuel, right? So we got the Haywood port to this port here now. So that's the ship line that we have now. We're just going to call this ship 1 because right now I don't think I'm going to have too many ships. So ship 1 is fine for me. This one goes now, and we could say full load all or full load any. But I think this would be a mistake early on, so I'm not doing this just yet. Now over here, the more important lines come in now. That's the stone and construction material route, this one. This is going to be a pretty big volume route, right? So I gotta make sure that we got all of this rolling. And the really cool thing about this route is that we have a ratio of 1:1 stone to construction material, and we deliver the stone and take the final product already on our way back again. So this will be an extremely profitable route. Yeah, it's a pity that we can't use trains on this yet. The ships also don't work because we don't have a direct water connection to this construction material plant. So unfortunately, trucks will have to do here. This is line 1 now, and we're gonna manage this one and get the vehicles going out of this road depot. The sooner we start with that, the better. So I'm gonna go ahead with this one here again, our modern version. And we're basically just pushing here. Yeah, let's make 17 out of this for now. Immediately we should be seeing the stone popping up here. And there it is. It's very important that we get the customers going. Without that, the cycle is not really working. So we're also going to say now here, Hastings Central. This one goes now to my drop-off point in Bromley, which is the customer. It's actually a pretty okay customer, honestly, right? So there will be a bit of a demand here. There's also a fuel refinery there. The thing with the fuel refinery here is there is no oil close by, right? So no refined oil. There are no refinery except this one here. But then my ship route could not work. So this would be a very low profit one for now. Also, you have a steep incline here, right? So this is hill area. It's beautiful to look at. But it's not going to be a profitable route for us if we get this one going. Also, this is much more fun and much more profitable, hopefully. Okay, so the line will be finished now here. And with that, we got the customer going, right? So now this one here needs just a truck. And it's definitely just going to be 1 for now, just so that we get the demand stirred. It's time to get the first ship going. And for this, we got 3 types available right now in the early game. And I think out of these ones here, we only have one option, by the way, and it's the Riggy. The Riggy can take everything, right? So it takes the fuel and then the construction materials up to 17 the capacity. The Wilhelm can only take passengers and then some selected processed goods, and the Zoroaster can only take liquid, so oil and fuel. So let's go with the Riggy and attach this one to this first ship route that we have. And ladies and gents, we got the boats rolling. Now that's a cutie. It is super slow. So this will take some time. I just love how detailed these models are. On this fine day. And look at how large that body of water is. Like, you can't even see the docks in the distance, right? So it will take quite some time to get the materials over. This is also something that will take quite some time to fully function, right? So everything is now kicking down the line of the supply chain. So we can see that Melton Mowbray is now pushing transport. That means it has registers, should have registered now the customer. So once there is a bit of oil coming in again, like here, it should then make able. There it is, Bromley, the first shipping. The first fuel is now being produced for Bromley, for our faraway city, right? So now this is being registered. This takes a long time, really, before that ship gets full. All right, the fuel gets back, gets to the port, gets delivered then over here. And then here with my line, where there's one vehicle on it, going over there. On the other hand, we got now the construction material coming back into this area where we now absolutely need to make that delivery. So we need to create that customer now. That's line 3. And we're also gonna say take construction materials. Let's start with 2 vehicles for now. Even that might be too much. We really just want to start that the demand is growing now, right? That there is a line and production will then ramp up for it. It would be a big mistake to just get everything fully functioning right away, because you would operate at a huge loss. All right, that's cracking. Now this one here should register Haywood as a customer once there is some material coming in. We haven't even delivered the stone yet, so this is also just starting now. And please take both platforms. You are. By the way, this map is so huge. We are only playing in a tiny fraction right now of what this gigantic map would have to offer for us, right? So many things, and we haven't even started with planes or passenger transportation. Just working on the basics. This is also something on very hard difficulty that's really hard to manage, and that is that when you start operating new routes, it takes a long time for them to get profitable, right? This whole thing is only starting to kick in now. The ship is taking another hole now empty, but we need the ship already, otherwise the line is not functioning, right? So I need to invest into my ship constantly. I need to invest in my trucks constantly, because it takes a long time for these to become profitable. And this leads to that line right now of deep red lines that we have. And yeah, I just need to wait it out for everything to start working out. Hopefully. But Leeds has been acknowledged as a customer, right? So production is already ramping up now. And those carts already have construction material now bound for the harbor and then for the ship. Well, all of this is ranking up and increasing in volume now, right? But this takes time. We could look at other business opportunities on the map, because I also want to start growing more cities, of course, because at some point we want to connect those cities. And for that, we need then passengers. Now, Ilkley or Ilkley over there, let's say Orkney, and Orkney over here, has a food demand. The cool thing about this one, it has a grain plantation over there and a food processing plant right over here. And even cooler is that it has its food districts not too far away from the main street. So I could try something out here, and that is getting me this road all the way over here and making a connection here. Clean though, please. Like so. Okay, and let's have a look at that depot. That depot potentially could be here. That means we now have access to the food and the grain at the same time. This is great. This is absolutely fantastic. Let's just make it so that we place it here. Now, I'm going down here to the food processing. And all I really need now is to connect those 2 platforms here. And it's going to deliver the grain and get the food to the city. 1-to-1. Perfect. This is an easy, profitable route that also grows me a city right away. Let's go crazy on this right away with 10 vehicles, because we're gonna need it. And look at this, my cargo ship has 34 fuel on board and is getting into Hastings port right now, where there's a lot of construction material waiting. $124,000 is fine. And it also is halfway full now with construction materials on its way back. So this is starting to work slowly. And as the ship is coming into Haywood, what we can see is that it's almost full now. Line 5 is already profitable. That was to be expected though. It's really an easy line and already raking in the profit and also causing Orkney to grow. And after years of waiting, that ship line is now deeply profitable. So it's coming in already with a bit of a profit. It's getting the 70 tons off and it's getting then 50 tons of fuel in. With the fuels, we could actually probably increase this a bit further. There is the demand there, right? So it seems like we do not have enough vehicles on this route. So let's copy this one to increase capacity. Since we have a bit of cash flowing now, I would like to work on another train line. And yeah, it's exactly the same thing again. We're transporting fuel around because that's just the most profitable thing early on. And there is an opportunity in this area. We got the customers, that's Wigan and that's Saxmundham over there. And in this case here, we do have a fuel refinery, an oil well, and over here, an oil refinery. We do have an oil refinery here, but that's far too short-sighted, right? Here we could not make a train route profitable. This route here is profitable by a lot. So let's just get this going real quick. The cool thing is here, we can actually combine the well and the fuel refinery into one to only need one station going here. Yeah, those stations are expensive. Okay, the major issue I faced here is that there is a steep incline here up, right, to this well. And for this we need to... I actually built a bridge here because this way I can take a more direct approach. Without that bridge, I would need to go around in a slope or in a curvature up here. With the bridge, it cost me around 300,000 more. It should be able, though. This could be a very slow train, honestly. That is something I did not calculate in so much. So we'll just see how that turns out. With more powerful locomotives, it wouldn't be a big deal. But since we are working in early stages, it could very well break my neck. We'll just see. Let's get the depot going. So I'm gonna have it over here somewhere so that we can take both ways then coming out of this, right? Of course, it will be this way here as the primary one. And then we just need to set the customers. That is Wigan. And then once again, the same thing all the way here to Saxmundham for my fuel customers. And with that, we can actually get everything rolling. Got 1.2 million. I think that's not enough. Nope, that's not enough. We need to take a loan for this. Gonna push it to 2.3 million. This is very risky on my part because you never really know. But I want to make this sure. Look at that. 2.1 million it costs me. We cannot even afford the full train with this. So I will need to take even more loan because I will still need to also get some trucks going for my 2 lines that we have here. And that's line number 3 and 4. These are the ones I haven't named yet. There you go. Just one vehicle once again to get the customers rolling. The oil should appear. And let's hope that this train gets full fast, because it's going to be very expensive. I still have some money left, so let's just go ahead and also make this one completely full now. Now, of course, one train will not be enough. We will need to get something else going, and that's this oil well here to get it in, because there is a ratio of 2 to 1, right? So this train will always be half empty on its way back. So this is also something I cannot totally allow. So I will also need to make another transportation here. But first, let's ramp up this oil well so that we always have enough oil raking it up. There you go. Almost full. Once again, this will take though 2 to 3 turns before it becomes profitable. And this is something I need to pay. It's a beautiful scenic route though, along a lake in the hill area on this map. Not ideal for trains. By the way, we are already using the latest locomotive that we have available that provides some protection for the driver now. But way more important than that is it's super powerful. Like it's double or twice the capacity than the Borsig that we had previously, right? So that's a lot more. It, however, also costs twice as much in maintenance. It really is a beautiful route, and unfortunately also a very expensive one, so I had to remodel this one. Despite having the bridges, the train was just going down to 10 kilometers an hour, which is deeply unprofitable for me to get things going. Now, I'm taking a bit of a broader approach here. With that, we can maintain above 20 kilometers an hour, and what I'm also doing is I'm using a bit of an exploiting here, honestly. It's not really an exploit, right? I'm just doing landscaping, that's it. And before that, we had the station up here on par with the oil refinery, but now we have the station way below the oil refinery, and I'm using a street to connect this one to the oil refinery. And the street slope I don't care about because there is no traffic on the street, right? We keep the station with that way lower than before, and with that I can have my train going a bit faster than before, and this leads to a bit more profit. That's a $1.5 million mistake, unfortunately, because those bridges cost me quite a bit, but now I've got it figured out. I would love to have a blueprint mode with the cost average stuff like that, like in Anno for example. Unfortunately here it's pure experimenting all the time. So far so good, we got the things rolling. We are profitable, that's the most important thing. It's 1890 now, 40 years have passed already, and it's now the age of, yeah, steam machines, or, well, the dawn of steam machines is upon us, and with that also with the first passenger transportation then. And all of that in the next episode for Transport Fever 2 on very hard mode settings. Stay tuned.